Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are we doing today? Welcome to 2023 and welcome to week 1 of what is going to be our self-improvement journey. I had a spur-of-the-moment thought yesterday and I thought, you know what, there's 52 weeks in a year, how about we make one video every single week? And you look at the video and you think, oh wow, that's a great idea, I should do it. 5 seconds later, you're swiping on TikTok. And you're content with average, you're content with the short intensity of the instant gratification. You play video games because you want to be happy. My goal is to be like the greatest player of all time in this game. Now, most people put into that position won't react. And I got tired of it. I reached a boiling point where I didn't care anymore. Like, we're constantly being put into a little box and that box gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and perhaps certain things that your parents taught you are wrong. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have bad weeks. You may even have bad months and bad years, but what's important is that you always doubt everything. I almost wanna say every single guy goes through this. How do I get my girlfriend back, right? Every guy's done that. If I told you, would you like to go skydiving, but there's, a 7 out of 10 chance the parachute won't open, would you still jump? Probably not. All that information is telling you to do certain things to try to succeed with women, and none of it works. And when they started doing that, I would give them a compliment. I'd be like, hey, you're doing a great job with this. And you can see that the little smile happens, This is actually something I can internalize and use in everyday life. Do one thing per week that's different from what everybody else is doing and see the results. You've read all these books. Your mind is filled with ideas. It's filled with all this knowledge, but yet you do nothing. You make no changes, you do no action, and 1/3 of the time you will feel absolutely miserable. This is a theory, but most of the time we enter it and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't exactly as I imagined it. And you have to sort of readapt yourself, reimagine it, re-envision it, restart the project, really think about it, like really close your eyes and just give it a couple of seconds. You know what, I'd love to try that for like 2 months. And then think about how big the earth is that you stand on and how tiny you are compared to it. Might just change the way that you look at you look at your life. Sometimes I'm watching a movie and I just pause and I'm like, whoa.
Post Fader 2023. 52 weeks later, take 1. I entered 2023 in a state of depression. Unhappiness and unwillingness to continue were the fuel that led me to initially coming up with the idea of 52 videos documenting my self-improvement journey. What started as a series dedicated exclusively to my future self quickly collected a select number of individuals that were also in need of a reconstruction of their own life. The positive comments from these select few people provided me with unfathomable levels of emotional support and energy that I so desperately needed. Without them, I don't believe this series would have reached the end. I know it's alternative type of advice, but if you're really feeling down, experiencing your own gutter moment, it could be as simple as taking your phone, setting it up on a shelf, and recording a few minutes of a conversation with yourself every single week. Initially, my plan was to create a set of 12 rules, one for each month of the year. But alas, life doesn't always follow our dream lineage, and I was forced to adjust my goals well within the first quarter of the year. I had initially come up with all 12 rules before the end of January and prepared to put them into action 1 month at a time. What I ended up learning is that these rules, they weren't so different from flaws. A closer analysis revealed to me that these truly were just my reflections, dreams of my alter ego, finally merging with my true self and creating the best version of me. On one of my recent trips abroad, I was faced with some interesting yet challenging adversities, and amidst this outer drama, an inner battle was being waged. As if I had finally begun to cleanse the demon from within. When I was thinking about writing a script for this final video, I wanted to reveal a particular wound, I find that the creativity that I can release through such content is akin to a cleanse of sins, which allowing good storytelling to do the catharsis. Therefore, I compiled the year and the 12 rules into 3 of my, and perhaps humanity's, greatest flaws. I used to say this as if it were some sort of a flex. I'm a perfectionist. I would brag with it. It was something to let other people know that what I do is always done with excellence, that I never make mistakes, that I take all the time in the world to make sure that the final product would be perfect. Now I ask myself, is this really something that you'd put on your CV? Perfectionism is a disease. It's what you get when you mix art with passion. Once you see past this becomes really simplistic and sensible to understand. Perfectionism is really just procrastination with a cloak of invisibility, preparing to make you waste years of your precious and limited time. It's a constant obsession with the wholesome and eternal story that you completely neglect the beauty of the doing and the gorgeousness of the now. Perfectionism is an obsessive quest for an ideal that doesn't exist. It's blinding us to the wonders of the present moment. It's a deceptive trap. It's luring us with the promise of flawlessness, but leaving us stuck in a cycle of never-ending refinement. This pursuit of the perfect often robs us of the joy of today, the moment, the now, and the thrill of the progress, the satisfaction of actually completing it. More often than not, when we partake on projects and approach them with the mind of perfectionism, the project either never sees the light of day or almost always ends in disappointment. Perfectionism is not a badge of honor. It's a barrier that's keeping you away from living fully. It's a thief of time. And it's a silent killer of dreams. I want you to embrace the imperfect. I want you to cherish the journey, the path that you're on, and to find fulfillment in the art of doing, not just in the elusive ideal of doing, the ideal of perfection, the ideal of future. And the sooner you can do this, the sooner you'll become free. Had I heard these words before, had I thought about this when I started theOrangeDoom, when I was still playing War Thunder and creating content, had I torn away that part of me, that part of my brain that wanted everything to be perfect, perhaps this channel would be somewhere else entirely. But I realized there was a greater mistake, and that was that I was a perfectionist in life as well. And suddenly nothing was perfect. No job was ideal, no woman beautiful enough, no lifestyle perfect. When I set out to create 52 videos, I knew up front that at least 3 or 4 of those weeks will be spent thinking, talking, and contemplating about love. Something that is almost undefined today. Is it an emotion? Is it a mixture of emotions? Do we choose it? Do we know it? Can we manipulate it? Is it nice or is it secretly evil? Does it bring happiness or does it bring pain? And the closer we got to the end of the year and the more that I traveled and meditated and tried to reflect on the reality, I realized that love is a blessing, that it is one of the energy sources on this planet that is so incredibly powerful that those who feel it should feel blessed and privileged to have that pleasure. There are those of you out there today who reflect on the year and think, I'm sadly in love, who will reflect back and say, there's someone that I love that doesn't love me back. There's somebody who broke my heart. There's somebody who loved and passed away. Many of you have lost loved ones this year, and many of you will lose them the year to follow. Some of you will fall in love for the first time, and others will fall out of love. Some will get heartbroken, and some will get married. When I began the year and tried to create a set of rules, when I tried to set down certain goals, I had to ultimately reflect on what I was feeling. I had to deal with that emotion deep inside that just wouldn't go away. And so I accepted it. I accepted I was in love. And I accepted that perhaps I would never be able to fully rekindle that spirit ever again. When I really think about it, I've spent most of my life trying to understand what love really is, and why it is that it is harder to fall out of love than it is to fall into love, and how we don't really choose when or how or whom. It just is. Usually you meet somebody in the least expected circumstances, and somewhere, somehow, a bond forms, and that person or that person's energy almost feels to follow you around. You find it hard to fall asleep. That person is the last thing on your mind and the first thing on your mind. It's an inescapable reality. Every time you hear certain songs that remind you of that person, you instantly get teleported. You have moments where, no matter how happy the environment is, no matter how achievable, no matter how pleasant and successful and eternal the situation or the environment you're in, it takes a split second and you're transported somewhere else. Perhaps you're excited for the future, or perhaps you're pained and ached by the past. Sometimes we love and we forget that it's in the moment. We forget to take it in when it's most beautiful. And I found myself there, not for the first time and perhaps not for the last time in my life, but when I thought about how to deal with love or lack thereof or unobtainability of it at certain times. There was a moment this year when I was driving home from work, late at night, and a song came on the radio. And it instantly teleported me, it transported me. I don't know if it was the past or the present or the reality or an energy state field of love, but I realized that I had a beautiful day. I had a day that I wanted to share. And the person I wanted to share it with wasn't there. And it made me feel remarkably miserable in the moment. As if somebody had flicked a switch and made me go from content and happy and fulfilled to sad, miserable, and lonely. And I don't know from where, but a thought came into my mind and I realized just how lucky I was, how privileged I was, how blessed I was that I could even feel all those emotions. And please, if there's anything you take away from this, albeit long and arduous video to listen to, if there's anything that you take away today, let it be this. There are people out there who haven't yet fallen in love. There's people who have been heartbroken in ways that you could never imagine. There are people who have had their loved ones die. There are people out there who haven't met their soulmate yet and perhaps risk that that's never going to happen. Acknowledge that love, whether you view it as a negative or a positive, is one, if not the strongest emotions that we know. And if you can get hold of that power, if you can use that as fuel, then you can make beautiful things. All of the art you see, listen to, watch, touch, everything that's ever inspired you, a lot of it, most of it, perhaps all of it, was made out of love. And when I made this connection, when I realized that what really drove me to even do the 52 weeks, to challenge myself, to put myself out there into the world and let myself be judged. Among all the changes made this year, I realized that constantly trying to swim against the current perhaps isn't the way you want to live life. At least, not mine. And so by coming to terms with my emotions and becoming content with the reality, whether or not it's sometimes negative, has been an extremely hard, arduous, but ultimately a gorgeous process. And so the only advice I can give you here is to never let go. Never let go of that one thing that fuels you, that drives you from today to tomorrow, and from tomorrow to the year after, and from the year after to the day that you will die. If there's one emotion that everybody should come to terms with, accept, and really feel happy and blessed for, is love. Don't ever let it go, because it's beautiful. For many years, ego was the driving factor behind this channel, or I should really say the alter ego. Most of you should know this by now, but the character theOrangeDoom was created because I wasn't happy with the life I was living. It was a character that had all the qualities that I otherwise didn't have, but wished I have. And to make it more popular, and to make it more entertaining for others and myself, I created an extreme version of all those things that I was missing. And so out of a very socially awkward, shy, and video game addicted young boy in 2014, I created a monstrosity, but a monstrosity that gave birth to so much. And it's this alter ego that I think can be the cure of all of us. Because most people aren't happy with who they are. They're just not happy with their lives. They're not happy and content with the idea that they're stuck in a certain body, or living in a certain part of town, or have a certain family, or have to do a certain type of job. Everybody has their own flaws. And more often than not, these are mental barriers that we convince ourselves that we cannot go. Ultimately, I did not know what I was creating. And looking back now, one of my most masterful achievements wasn't really made knowledgeably. It wasn't created with a mindset. I didn't know what I was doing. But subconsciously, I had done precisely what the universe needed me to do. To get rid of all the things that I didn't enjoy, put them into an alter character, and test it. If I was to add the same level of confidence, and the same level of arrogance, and the same level of oomph to me, and just try to live it, it would likely have failed. But creating an alternate persona, creating a guinea pig online, and giving it some features, allowed me to test it partially on my own skin, but partially through a safe and controlled environment. And I realized that ego is our number one enemy. That the young men and women of today are constantly fighting, not with the world, but with themselves. Whether you're not satisfied with your own image, or the family you were born into, or the job you're doing, or the career you've chosen, or certain attributes of your body, certain abilities, your height, your weight, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. We're constantly being harassed by comments online. We're constantly questioned about who and what we are. And a lot of people have lost the ability to find their true self. And in a world that is so bountiful with options, in a world with so many opportunities and choices and chances, it almost feels like the average person is trapped by the sheer load of choices, and it's leading to unhappiness. The more we get to choose from, the more we get to pick, the more unhappy we become. And all of it is related to your ego. Now, whether it's going to take a book for you to read, or a documentary to watch, or you're simply going to go and learn all about it at your local university, perhaps it will be enough for you to listen to somebody who's been there. Ego can be your greatest friend. It can be a very powerful ally. It can be a life changer. But it can also be the devil himself. And you're going to have a long, hard think about what your particular ego is doing at this very moment. Are you crafting an alter ego you're happy with, or are you living the life that is ultimately making you miserable? Ultimately, cleansing one's ego might look simple, but in practice, it can take years and a lot of pain and misery. And I think the solution isn't to fight it or to accept it. It's to duplicate it. It's to do what I did almost 10 years ago by taking part of me and giving it all the features and all the characteristics that I thought that I wanted. And then spending some time every couple of days tuning into that alter ego and just wearing it like a suit and seeing how the world reacts. Seeing if that makes me happier, if that makes the world better. Does it make me more successful? Does it make sense? And change the suit. Change it often. Alter it. Adjust it. And if you start today and do it for a year, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of 2024 you will have a suit that will fit you perfectly. And you look back at 1 year when you were listening to this and think, what a simple but revolutionary bit of advice. Don't fight it. Go with it hand in hand. Make it your friend. Learn how to tame your ego. Wear it like a suit, wear it regularly, and adjust it regularly. And at the end of the year, believe me, you will look back and realize that it was the simplest and perhaps the most effective change that you'll ever make in your life. A year has 52 weeks, 8,760 hours, 525,600 minutes, and just over 3 million seconds. I'm 26 years old, and time flies. I began my year a month early, on the 31st of November 2022. That was the day I crawled out of depression. I had just finished writing my thesis, and that was the day an idea was born. A deep dormant desire to return back to my roots, to create, to share, to inspire. I've always enjoyed telling stories, and I really have a lot to tell. On August 4th, 2022, at 3 a.m, I made a decision that would haunt me for the rest of my life. With a bottle of red wine in one hand and a quick match of chess on my phone, a choice was made. A choice which was ultimately crafted out of fear, insecurity, and lust. I knew what I was getting myself into, but I just wasn't prepared for the pain. Many of you remember my original trip down into the pit of depression and despair that I covered in my How Gaming Addiction Saved My Life video. But nothing could prepare me for the journey I was about to embark on this time. For 2 months, my life would turn upside down. I would crawl out of bed every single morning. I would ache at the slightest of tasks, my mind constantly discombobulated, my body weak, my sight foggy and uncertain. I left love behind. I quit my job. I departed from my comfort zone, and into the dark night I went. Unprepared, unwilling, and ill-equipped. I staggered, I fell, and I failed. I had a dozen interviews and twice as many dates. I received offers, I received intimacy, yet neither could quench my thirst or satisfy my inner desire. As if my purpose was still elsewhere, still waiting to be uncovered and brought forth to the Creator. I felt something switched in me. I began to feel more than before. I wasn't being punished. It was like I was being directed onto a better path, a righteous path. As if the puzzle was finally starting to come together. And I still stray from the path regularly. I still challenge the universe. I still question it. What does it take? What accomplishment clears one's conscience fully? What actions truly matter? When do we qualify ourselves as a failure? When do we brandage success? How much is enough? What is happiness? When does it end? How does it end? Why does it end? Does it end? Why should it end? What if I want to keep going? What if this pain I feel isn't really pain? And what of this path? Are there many like them? Or just this one? And is my commitment enough? Is it strong enough? Am I strong enough? Every year I find myself looking back and trying to recollect the moments that made the year, the achievements, the goals, the failures. And for whatever reason in this modernistic world, it always feels like a failure. Every year, every day, every month feels empty, feels unaccomplished, feels unachieved. But this time I kept track. This time I wrote it down. And this time, well, in the last year, I uploaded 52 videos documenting my self-improvement journey. I spoke with a dozen different individuals and recorded my very first season of the Doomtime podcast. In the process, I lost more than 5,000 subscribers. I saw 2 Rammstein concerts. I visited Munich, Vienna, Bratislava, and Dubai. I saw Oppenheimer. I tried to save a valuable relationship. I went through surgery. I got my dream job. I went cycling to Croatia with a man I'd never have met if it wasn't for video games. I cried a lot. I smoked a few joints. I got really drunk this one time. I lost my cat. I came to terms with my emotions. I read more than 10 books. I cycled to work a total of 800 kilometers on my bike. I perfected my bread recipe. And I even sold my first online English course. And I made a lot of new friends. Life is only as miserable as we make it out to be. And I think the pendulum swings both ways. I've come to acknowledge the fact that there are going to be bad days, and that there is beauty even in the darkest hour. I wanted to thank you all for being a part of this incredible journey. It's videos like these that make life worth every ounce of pain and every failure. Every one of you who stood by me throughout this year, who sampled and became part of this journey, all of you are amazing people. And it's you that I keep coming back for. I rarely open up about the fact that somewhere along the way, long time ago I think, I lost some empathy for humankind. Truth is, I'm an incredibly emotional being, and I've learned to love emotions. All of them. But above all, I love the tears of catharsis. I love the emotions that are triggered by music, by quality movies, by our finest memories. Triggered by love of all things. To me, 2023 was one of the weirdest, challenging, but also perhaps the most beautiful years of my life. It's taught me so much. It's given me a broad sense of life. It's really compacted the fact that my philosophy of life is changing and that it's good. I found that my philosophy was challenged, that life itself, or the universe, or God, or however way you want to look at it, I was challenged. And it brought me to the point where I've adapted and improvised and ultimately overcome. And I look forward now to 2024 and 25 and beyond. I look forward to what it brings, what new rules will be crafted, what new revelations will be made. But most importantly, I look forward to going back to my roots.
This monkey business is in your blood, under your skin. You're not getting out, you're just getting in. You're only getting started. I've every faith in you. And one day in the future, it'll be you sitting here in my place, telling some young Turk the facts of life.
And they are, Mr. Temple.
You're born, you take shit. Get out in the world, you take more shit. Climb a little higher, take less shit. Till one day you're up in the rarefied atmosphere and you've forgotten what shit even looks like. Welcome to the layer cake, son.
When I started this year, my ultimate goal was to create an online English course. My first monetary project, my first venture into entrepreneurship. And in fact, I'm happy to announce that this project is finally seeing the light of day, and you too can become part of learning English in a simplified and different way. And I hope that it doesn't just change the way that you view the language, but change the way that you view life. It's a test for something greater to come. And you can visit flip-english.com today and get yourself a 25% discount for my 30-day English course, simply using the code ORANGE at the checkout. All the details will be in the description below. But when I was creating this course, when I met all fellow entrepreneurs and young men who want to improve, other people who are on this journey of self-improvement, of grinding through life, of going through depression and anxiety, of all the terrible things that unfortunately come with the beauty of life, I'm vouching myself that in 2024 I do everything that I can, everything that is in my power, to bring the knowledge, the experience, the changes, the things that work for me, that have worked for people that I know, that have worked for people who were in the same position as so many young men and women of today that are struggling, that have the same issues that I had a year ago of getting out of bed, of doing things, of being happy, of living a healthy life, of changing their diet and changing their mindset. Because I really believe there is a beauty in life. And often all that we require is just a gentle push, a push onto the right path, a push into the right direction, a push into a better life. But we will talk about that when the time comes. In the meantime, I really once again wanted to thank you all who viewed this video, who've been part of this channel for all these years. In fact, on January 27th, 2024, it will have been officially 10 years since I uploaded my very first commentary to YouTube. And when I look back at just how much I've grown and my English and this channel and all of you, it almost brings a tear to my eye. Because it's a journey that I never thought it would go this far. I never thought that I could actually feel all the emotions that I feel today. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Take care and safe flight.
10 years. I honestly never thought we'd get this far. And with the events of last year, with where this channel has been going, it's time to make one leap of faith. What originally started as a joke, this Children of the Apocalypse that I started adding as an innuendo to the beginning of my videos, spurred into this wonderful idea to create a mastermind, to give back something more, something unique, something that I would have wanted to have when I was growing up. To collect like-minded individuals, to give you an atmosphere, an environment in which you can really grow. Something that we're all searching for isn't just the meaning of life, but our purpose. What will we put here on God's green earth to accomplish? And I've searched for that for so long. I've looked far and wide to try to find what I not just wanted to become or be, but do. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of you to get rid of your addictions, to start setting good habits, to create a positive mindset, to elevate your life, to change the environment, to boost your performance, to surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't waste this. Don't start tomorrow, start today. You'll get lecturers, you'll get courses. This will grow, it will get big, and it will help and change your life. I vouch for that, because I feel that this is my purpose. To finally, after 10 years, give something back. Don't waste it. Start today.